Okay. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. It's an interesting opening sentence tonight. The ego always attacks on behalf of separation. Let's be clear on one thing. The ego never does anything but attack. It's incapable of caring. It's incapable of being sensitive to needs. The only need that exists is the need for self-protection. Self-protection is a defense. And so every act of the ego is a defense against whatever. It's a defense against your world. It's a defense against God. It's a defense against your brother. And unknown to you, as you practice the state of egohood or orphanhood, it's a defense against your being consciously aware of who and what you are. It's the means by which you keep your birthright hidden from you. Well, you say, I go through my week and I work with the people. I work together. I do my best to work together with the people I work with. I try to be supportive of my family. I try to be thoughtful. As a general rule, I'm not going around attacking. I'm not trying to be separate. I really do try to fit in. Remember last week we talked a little bit about needs and how needs are always messy. Getting into the arena of needs so as to have needs met is always uncomfortable. You all work very hard to arrive at a point where you are without need. You raise your kids. They move out. And now you go about getting all the pretty little knickknacks that you never could have when your kids were at home. Or the hobby supplies that you need that you could never leave handy because somebody would get into it. Your need of raising the kids and everything that went along with it is over, and now you can have things the way you want them. And so for a while, perhaps, you enjoy the freedom. And then what happens? Oh dear, one of your kids gets pregnant. And after 9 months or so, here's this little one who knows nothing about not touching anything. And as it grows, it becomes a threat to the order that you have finally achieved, the peace and so on that you've established. And so, unless you happen to be one who has not let go of the capacity to stay in touch with needs, if you're one who has not let go of the capacity to to find that relating to each other is more important than the orderliness of things, you begin to think of this grandchild and grandchildren as a threat when you become defensive. Don't touch. Don't touch. No, don't do that. Rather than valuing togetherness, rather than valuing being present with each member of the family in ways that are embracing and involving. Now that's just one of the ways that you establish independence. It's just one of the ways that you reinforce separation. But there's another way you do it too. I'm describing this so that you might understand that the statement, the ego always attacks on behalf of separation, is not just a philosophical statement. It isn't a statement to be intellectually understood. It needs to relate to where you live. Another way in which you establish and confirm separation is by refraining from becoming involved with your brother or sister when there is a need. A favorite phrase for a lot of people is, been there, done that. This is their time to work through their problems. I did it, and I moved through it, and I'm beyond it now. I don't have to go through this again with them. I don't have to be willing to take up my time and energy when nobody took up time and energy with me, when I was moving through it and growing and developing and maturing and becoming a more effective presence. But there's something more fundamental than just the bother of it. Why are needs messy? Because they're where change is occurring, where things are not stable. They are a threshold. You might say they are the threshold of a miracle. And so, it requires everyone involved to be willing to stand at the threshold of what appears to be confusion. It's lack of order, meaning it's movement going beyond your present sense of what the best order of things ought to be. When there is a need that your brother has, if you're not going to maintain separation, you're not going to maintain distance, and you're going to get involved, meaning, in so many words, you're going to put your shoulder to the same wheel they're putting their shoulder to, because it is a threshold of a miracle. You're reluctant to do it because you are afraid you will not be able to, quote, pull off a miracle, unquote. You do not want to stand at the threshold they're standing at of the unknown, looking with perseverance to see how the need is going to be met. Why? Because you say, I don't see how the need can be met. you are afraid that the need can't be met. And you don't want to confront yourself with your fear. Do you see what I'm saying? You do not want to place yourself at the threshold that your brother is standing at, even though you have platitudes like, been there, done that. Well, if you've been there and done that, do it again. You know what it's about. You know the ropes. So go there and stand with them and be the encouragement and be the persistence that they fear to exercise because it looks like there's no answer. You see what I'm saying? Your reluctance to be involved is a way that you daily practice separation, which means that you are engaging in the ego's activity of always attacking. Self-protection, instead of caring enough to give your attention to the threshold of a miracle with your brother. And being willing to stand there because you have been there. And you know that what it takes is persistence, even though it's not easy. Even though you stand there in confidence without anything to justify it, except your past experience that miracles happen. They've happened to every single one of you. And they never happened because you were competent. They happened because you didn't give up. No matter how sloppy you engaged in moving through the miracle, you didn't give up. So, the ego always attacks on behalf of separation. Most of your days are spent, to one degree or another, confirming separation. Why? So that you might maintain the little bit of order that you've been able to achieve and not let it be disturbed by the unpredictable. After all, you've done your work. You've lived your years, whatever, however you want to think about it, and now you deserve to have some peace without disturbance. Well, you know what? That's called death. The dictum of the Father is, behold, I make all things new. Being is a verb. Existing. Being is a movement, a forever movement, which means that in the process of awakening, you're all going to come to the point where you are willing to never expect things to be settled. In order, orderly, you know what? There's nothing awesome about order or orderliness of things. What is awesome is the unpredictable movement of being, of life. I mean, you go to bed at night, you don't have any pets to disturb anything, and you get up in the morning and walk out of your bedroom, and do you stand in awe of The living room that hasn't changed since last night? Why would you stand in awe at the familiar? Bliss is not peace with the status quo. Got it? Bliss is not peace with the status quo. Bliss is the absence of fear in the middle of, behold, I make all things new. Bliss is the experience of awe and wonder. And so, is it beginning to click with you, maybe, that this awful thing that you call needs are thresholds to waking up, are thresholds to real experiences of being? And so if you have a child with a health problem that requires attention, or you have a child who, for one reason or another, is not up to par with the other children and needs a special help to catch up, if you have a situation in the community that is not leaving you alone, that's requiring your attention, the call is for you to see the needs and not talk the needs away. You must see the needs and address the needs by insisting upon persevering until the miracle of the need met is manifested. Oh, that's their problem. That's another one of everyone's favorite sayings. That's their problem. Well, there you go, practicing separation. And actually what you're doing is you are practicing a defense against moving into a place where you don't have the answer, but you're called upon to be the place where the answer can come. This is how you practice separation daily, in one way or another. The ego, again, always attacks. It always attacks. It can't do anything else. But it always attacks on behalf of the only thing that means anything to it, separation. Believing it has the power to do this, it does nothing else. Because its goal of autonomy is nothing else. Oh, that's their problem. Isn't that a statement of autonomy? Been there, done that. Isn't that a statement of autonomy? The ego is totally confused about reality, but it does not lose sight of its goal. It is much more vigilant than you are because it is perfectly certain of its purpose. You are confused because you do not know yours. Does that not make it perfectly clear that you and what you would call your ego are not one? You and the ego are not one. You and the habits of thinking that you are employing are not one and the same. What you must what you must learn to recognize is that the last thing the ego wishes you to realize is that you are afraid of it. For if the ego gives rise to fear, it is diminishing your independence and weakening your power. Yet its one claim to your allegiance is that it can give power to you. Now, what I want you to understand is that very few of you, especially when you get into a spiritual or metaphysical vein, very few of you become proactive. You back off from involvement because lack of involvement means the avoidance of messiness. It provides a sense of peace. And then, in order not to have to be involved in the correction of things that need to be corrected, you say, or many say, the world is an illusion. You're making it real by addressing needs. And so it justifies not taking action. And it provides a sense of peace because you stay out of the messiness. It's very easy to point at an illness or a bad experience and say, it's not real. And think that you're done with it. But saying it is a way of not doing anything about it. If you know that it's not real, you have the means of demonstrating that it's not real so that it no longer presents itself as though it is. And you've got to persist until you see the miracle. The Course says that a miracle is a sudden shift of perception. Oh boy, that was wonderful news for the people who wanted to be in a state of separation, who didn't want to be involved. A miracle is a sudden shift of perception. If you're not careful, it makes it sound as though a miracle has nothing to do with needs being met, with food at the moment because you need food, with shelter because your house is blown away, or as I said last week, clean diapers because the baby's pooped in them. A miracle is a sudden shift of perception that results in a changed experience because you stuck with the miracle, you stuck with the shift in perception until, for lack of better words, it brought forth the evidence. Got to keep your feet on the ground. And you've got to make everything that we're reading relevant. Yet, it's the ego's one claim to your allegiance is that it can give power to you. Well, power to what? Power to rise above the situation, the unreality. Wow. You didn't really think that's what you wanted, but if you listen to the ego, that's what you ask for, and that's what you get. And you end up not being an agent for change, because you're not being the presence of love that wishes to see the evidence of love and sticks with it until the evidence is there. Its one claim to your allegiance is that it can give power to you. Without this belief, you would not listen to it at all. How then can its existence continue if you realize that by accepting it, you are belittling yourself and depriving yourself of power? Now, what is this ego that you listen to? It's not your mind. It's a set of definitions. It's a set of beliefs. It's conclusions that you have arrived at through faulty reasoning. Reasoning that has been based upon factors that do not include God in the equation. That only include your definition of yourself and the definitions of everything else that you employ. And definitions are not that which is holding the definitions. You are what is holding and employing the definitions. And the you that is holding them, is the ultimate one, the Christ, right now. But you're holding definitions of yourself at odds with what you are. And then you're believing that you are the definition of yourself that you're employing. The foundational definition of yourself being that you are an orphan, that you have no father, ultimately that there is no God, and that the world and universe is nothing but a fluke of material dynamics. Now, the ego, meaning all of these definitions and theories and concepts that you employ, can and does allow you to regard yourself as supercilious, unbelieving, light-hearted. You don't take anything too seriously. That's their problem. Oh, you worry too much. Light-hearted, yeah. Distant. Mm-hmm. When you've worked your problem out, come back and tell me all about it. Emotionally shallow. Callous. Uninvolved. And even desperate, but not really afraid. Minimizing fear, but not its undoing, is the ego's constant effort. Get it? Minimizing fear, but not its undoing. You see, the miracle is the undoing of the fear. The miracle is the shift of perception that undoes the fear you have of not being competent enough to participate in a brother's miracle and involving yourself in the resolution of his need. That awful, messy thing called need. Minimizing fear, but not its undoing, is the ego's constant effort and is indeed the skill at which it is very ingenious.